Now this is the regular board meeting, April 22, 2021, and it's now 4.01. We'll begin roll call, please.
We got to do roll call.
Yeah,
President
Mary, would you here?
Thank you. Vice President Herrera,
Here.
Clerk Chavez,
Here.
Member Cortese,
Here.
Member Doe.
Here.
All right, everyone's here. Thank you. Now we move to agenda item 1.02. Are there any members of the public who would like to provide public comments to the board on a closed session agenda item at this time? Do you see anyone that
There is no written public comment.
All right, thank you. So
And we have no hands up with attendees.
All right, okay, then if no member in the audience, then the board will now recess in the closed session. All right, thank you, Superintendent Fang. All right, everyone, I'd like to welcome everyone to the regular board meeting of April 22nd, 2021. Member of the public, please submit your public comment online by accessing the form on the district homepage at www.esuhsd.org. Please limit your written comments to no more than 1,000 characters in length. Public comments submitted online will be read into the record. You may also raise your virtual hand in Zoom to request to speak. You will have 2 minutes to speak. Please note, all meetings are recorded. All regular and special meetings of the Board of Trustees and Board Study Session are streamed live on meeting nights and also available for viewing the day after the meeting by accessing the district YouTube channel listed on the district webpage at www.esuhsd.org under the quick link section. Or any personal issue, your comments will be read into the record and will be directed to the superintendent and or the appropriate staff member for response. Interpretation of this meeting in Spanish and Vietnamese can be heard by accessing the link and following the instruction shown on the agenda and the district website. Right, so I think we can move to adoption of agenda 5.01. The superintendent and or board members may request that item be removed from the agenda for consideration and or carried to a future board meeting for consideration and or action, and or that the board take action in a regular meeting on a subject not listed on the published agenda on an emergency basis on other basis allowed by law. Gov Code 54954.2. I like to request to move item 11.03, discussion action to approve employment agreement for district superintendent, to item before 8.02.
Second.
And I don't know any other board member has any other item would like to move. If not, then we.
Sounds good.
All right. Yeah. Thank you. All right, so then we move to 6.01, which is staff building equitable community. Mr. Fang, please take it over.
Yes, each month we recognize staff members that help continue to strive towards building equitable communities here on the East Side. And tonight we would like to share this month's employees we are here to recognize. Ms. Marquez, please.
Thank you. Good evening. Today, we honor the following staff as they strive toward building equitable communities. Congratulations to Abraham Abundis, head custodian at Calero High School. Kudos from his principal read as follows. Since Abraham joined the Calero team, he has gone above and beyond to keep the site beautiful and safe. When he sees something that needs to be completed, he takes care of it. He picks up lunches at another site for our students daily as our kitchen is closed and takes time to connect with our students. He is a valuable member of our team. I am delighted to recognize him for what he does to make Calero a better place. Congratulations to Ms. Nicole DiVincenzi, English teacher at Evergreen Valley High School. And kudos from her principal read as follows. Ms. DiVincenzi has done amazing work towards helping Evergreen Valley High School build a more equitable campus community. She consistently does an effective job establishing meaningful relationships with their students. Not only does she ensure that she teaches their students all the appropriate English content, but she has established her classroom as a welcoming, accepting, and safe place where students can explore issues related to gender, race, sexual orientation, identity, culture, and more. I am particularly appreciative of Mrs. DiVincenzi's work with the Evergreen Valley High School Book Club. Every month, she organizes a group of staff and students to read a selected book and then discuss the book together. This helps connect students to EVHS during the distance learning. Most importantly, though, the books she reads with the book club explore issues around race, ethnicity, LGBTQ rights, the prevention of sexual harassment and assault in young people, and more. I know her work in her classroom, along with her efforts with the EV Book Club, has helped Evergreen Valley High School build a more equitable campus community. Her work has helped uplift and amplify the voices of students who have too often felt like they are marginalized or in the shadows. Thank you to Ms. DiVincenzi for everything she is doing to help all students know they belong at Evergreen Valley High School and are welcomed as they are. Our next honoree is Joanna Shea, AP Chemistry teacher at Independence High School. And kudos from her principal read as follows. Ms. Shea is a true sixer. Ms. Shea is challenging and protective of our students, pushing them to reach their highest potential. She is open and honest with their students, creating an atmosphere of serious work and serious fun. Ms. Shea's contributions to our Goodwill Assets program were highlighted in a recent state audit, greatly impressing the visiting auditor. Ms. Shea takes an interest in our students beyond the classroom, supervising student clubs and encourage them to be involved in our greater community. Our next honoree is Caitlin Beasley, social worker at Mount Pleasant High School. And kudos from the assistant principal there, read as follows. Caitlin is very well respected and a tireless social worker dedicated to supporting her students. She is a calming force for students who need counseling and responds with great care when they are in crisis. Her role on our campus is so important, and we are very lucky she is part of our Cardinal family. Our next honoree is Principal Secretary at Oak Grove High School, Ms. Isabel Shadinka. Kudos from the principal read as follows. I am pleased to be able to recognize Isabel for the wonderful work she does for the Oak Grove community. Her knowledge of school policies and procedures allows for her to assist parents and staff members who have questions or concerns, or just need help navigating the school system. Her outgoing personality naturally helps to foster a welcoming environment and build strong rapport with those with whom she interacts, staff, community members, parents, and students. Isabel is a joy to work with and a valuable member of the Oak Grove team. Our next honoree is Ms. Annabelle Velasquez, School Registrar at Yerba Buena High School. And kudos from her principal state the following. I would like to recognize the school registrar, Ms. Annabelle Velasquez, for her hard work and dedication in supporting our students and parents. We can always count on her getting the job done. She's a valuable member of our warrior family, and we thank her for her contributions to make Yerba Buena High School a more equitable community. And finally, congratulations to Ms. Berta Zamora, Principal Secretary at Yerba Buena High School. And kudos from the principal state the following. Ms. Berta Zamora has been working at Yerba Buena High School for 27 years. She has held multiple positions at our school, and she has been doing everything very well. Ms. Zamora has done a great job as a support services technician when I was an APED. She is now the principal secretary, and she continues to do well in the new position. Ms. Zamora is always there to support our students, parents, and staff. We are grateful for her support so that Yerba Buena High School continues to build equitable communities. Congratulations to all our honorees.
Thank you so much, Ms. Marquez, and my congratulations to all of our employees also. Thank you for all your dedication and hard work in serving our community.
I also want to congratulate and kudos to our teachers, staff that, that work very hard and with their dedication and commitment during the pandemic. And I know that I miss to visit school like Independence. Some of them I really join us, Shay and the Berta Zamora or Annabelle Velasquez. I mean, all of you are really dedicated, and I'm glad that the district recognized it and continue to do good work. And that's something that I really want to say to all of you. So keep up a good work. I want to open to all my board members, board colleagues would like to say anything. If not, then we will move forward.
I
didn't
do.
see
I
any-
put
oh,
something in the
anyone?
chat. Oh, sorry.
Go ahead.
I put something in the
Thank
chat.
you, Lorena.
Sorry. I put something in the chat congratulating everyone, but I do want to give a special shout out to our the folks that are being recognized at YB, because I was personally touched by them as students. I was a student as a student at YB. So I was a student at YB when both of them were there. So huge shout out to them, especially Annabelle, who was really helpful and supportive of me as an interesting student back in my days. So thank you, Annabelle, and felicidades.
Absolutely. Okay. If I don't see anyone raise hand, and we can move forward to item 6.02. Do we have any teaching during distance learning, Chris?
Not this evening tonight.
All
We'll
right.
move on.
So we move to 7.01. Bruce Nguyen, Student Governance Board Representative.
Yeah, I would like
Bruce.
to make a report. Okay,
Sure. Go
so
ahead.
if I may have screen sharing access.
I don't see your attachment here, Bruce. You'll send that, please.
Yeah, I will be able to send that. Would you like an email for that, or?
Well, you normally submit it to Mary Gillen, right? You can
Yeah.
do that after your presentation, Bruce. You don't have to do it right now.
Okay, I should be able to have screen sharing access though.
Bruce, is the presentation part of what you want to say? Is the slides part of your presentation? Is that what you're trying to say?
Yeah. Okay, just to clarify, will I be able to share my screen?
Do you not have the ability, Bruce?
I do not.
I just, let me go and find you now.
You should have it now, Chris.
Thank you. Go ahead, Bruce.
All right, thank you very much. So welcome everyone. My name is Bruce Nguyen, and I will be delivering the Student Board Representative Report. So just to start off, many students and I are happy to know that the Eastside Union stands with the results of the Derek Chauvin trial. As you can see, they found Chauvin guilty of all charges, and we are doing a lot here at the district to make sure that students are protected, their rights are protected, and ultimately we work together to educate ourselves on how to be better individuals. So with that said, we continue to stand with Black Lives Matter. However, a lot of work needs to be done, within our classrooms, and I would like to begin with addressing the student needs, right? So students typically right now aren't informed about Title IX and other uniform complaint policies and how to file reports. This also connects with the uniform behavior responses and how students are all treated equally in the eyes of when they face a consequence, right? Not too many students are aware about these rights, and we should do a bit more than just having a poster within our classrooms showing like the different consequences. Perhaps maybe more resources available online for that. So that I will continue to talk about that topic in another slide. I also want to talk about students considering the current sex ed curriculum outdated. What I mean by that is that not many of the biology classes provide a comprehensive curriculum on sex education. Some teachers may even glance on the topic itself, and that wouldn't be a benefit to students in the long run, because and also it's also not inclusive. Currently, there are so many students within the LGBT community who feel as if they're not learning the content that they should be. I heard input from students that it shouldn't just be like same-sex education. It shouldn't just be heterosexual education. It should also be same-sex education. And also, Csba also recommends that additional funding from SB/AB 86 should be allocated to mental health resources as well. And because we have the opportunities now, because of the funding that we are getting because of COVID, we should continue to look forward and focus on the needs of students who would be affected dramatically because of COVID-19. Think about all of the students who haven't been able to socialize this year, and coming back to school would be a completely different experience, right? That could have major consequences if we don't act quickly. So I would advise the district to look into funding for mental health and funding for resources to help students reconnect with each other. And then the last point I wanted to make here in this slide is the seal of civic engagement. This is what the district will be covering in an item. So the Student Governing Board will be supporting the resolution on the seal of civic engagement, and we hope to hear public comment from students and from teachers as well, who favor rewarding students on their services and commitments to what they believe is right over these past 4 years of their education. And hopefully they will be...
Só estudante. Eles põem estudantes ali como fosse alguma coisa tão importante.
Continuing onto my presentation here. This is also something that we've received. Student Governing Board have received reports on racially discriminatory incidents at 2 Eastside Union High School District campuses, resulting in the action of the offenders becoming publicly known. This is not any typical incident that involves racial comments. This involves student leaders being involved in this. Students that have said these things in the public, and a lot of the student body have become aware about these things. So the biggest question that should be asked is how do we keep student leaders accountable? How do we keep more student leaders involved in these different committees into doing what's right? And what Csba talked about is revising the ASB constitutions and including a restorative practice clause and proper protocol, and to prevent additional setbacks. But before I go on, has the board been aware about these incidents at these campuses? I'm not seeing, okay, I'm seeing a few no's, okay. We did inform our superintendent, Chris Funk, about this. And to your knowledge, have you looked into it a bit more on these situations?
Bruce, we discussed this at the Student Governing Board meeting on Monday, along with Trustee Cortese. Yes, we've looked into them. We followed up with both sites, and there's a lot of information that was lacking from the students that reported out on Monday. So at this time, I have no further comment.
Okay. Thank you. Patty, do you have any comments on these situations before I proceed? Oh, are you muted?
No, I just appreciated the students bringing it up and you know, holding a high standard for student leaders. I appreciated the conversation we had on Monday about, you know, looking into training or orientation or creating some kind of code of conduct for student leaders to agree to. I think that's good work that you all are doing as a board.
Absolutely. And when we handle these situations as a district, it's pretty clear that, you know, ASB as its own should serve their own schools, and we should do our best to advocate to revise their or advocate for revising ASB constitutions across the district, and you know, have group counseling sessions so that, you know, over here students will understand their purpose and their responsibilities as a student leader. If you have any questions on this, I'm happy to answer. Okay. So
Bruce, I just would like to add that I appreciate the emphasis on restorative practices because, you know, part of being a human being and especially being a teenager is making mistakes. So I think it's important to have a path for people to make amends and learn from those things.
Agree.
And for what it's worth, what's top of mind for me is knowing that Patty and Chris have been aware and that there's something that's being done. And I look forward to continuing to hear about what happens, right? This to me sounds like an ongoing process and not like a one and done type of thing. I hear opportunities here. So I look forward to being part of those conversations and supporting wherever I can.
Yeah, I think this is a very good conversations, and we want to understand more some other issue that students encounter during this time. And I am glad that Superintendent Fung and Board Member Patty Cortese are working with the Student Governance Board. And I'm really glad that, you know, Student Governance Board brought out all of those issues that really reflect our community and an issue that really dear to the heart of our community as well as also students. So I think we still need to look into those issues and find the solution and find the resource to support the issue that thank you. So is that the end of the presentation, Bruce?
No, I'm actually halfway. Brian, I see Brian having a board member.
Thank you, Bruce. Brian is fine. I'm not aware of the incident.
Oh, yeah, Brian raised a hand.
I'm not aware of the incidents, but I certainly appreciate if this moment is not the right time to share the incidents, we appreciate if you can send us an email to the board to share us so we are to make aware of what had happened. Thank you.
Thank you. So, so one of the action items that SUB will be taking in response to these racial incidents will be taking a look at our own drafted resolution. So SUB serves as its own governing board for students. So we will be looking at creating our own resolution, taking a look at a few of the solutions, such as restorative practices and how we can take that forward. And if it does pass, then you know, we will utilize our powers to advocate for changes within ASB constitutions across the district. So if I would like to move on. So in regards to the coronavirus, many students are currently aware that the CDC did open eligibility for vaccines 16 and older. I'm also getting an appointment. So, however, I think the district should provide more resources, perhaps on their website, to COVID-19 providers in the Santa Clara County. This would benefit cohorts because not only will more and more students become vaccinated, this will reduce the likelihood of spread. So we feel that by the next school year, enough students will be vaccinated, and that will be in part because of the district's message, right? And then just to go back to the clause that, or going back to the restorative clause, right? This is a draft by Independence High School. This is not official yet, but this is what Independence, which was one of the schools affected, created. So when a student candidate opts in to become, to run for a position, they will be, the draft here says students are agreeing to serve as a representative of the school and also the district. So down here, they will agree to be, judged by their students, by the student body as a leader. They would also promise not to discriminate against anyone for their ethnicity, sexual orientation, religion, gender identity, and so on. And also commit to restorative practices of justice and change when conflict occurs. So this is something one of these school sites did in response to the incidents. And we hope that more schools will be able to reflect on this and adopt it as well. So just to summarize here, SGB will work on the following. In terms of sex ed, we will contact MTSS and also the Associate Superintendent of Educational Services, and also subject area coordinators in relation to the curriculum for sex ed. We will also ensure schools have conducted SGB elections. That's really important because we want to continue into next year strong and to have able student leaders that will represent their student body. And also to continue talks with the YWCA, which is the nonprofit organization that we have contacted in the past to provide outside sex ed resources. And then we will reschedule the SGB town hall in May. And then the bottom part here is just how can we as SGB also incorporate non-discrimination clauses, which we will also look into to amend our own bylaws. With that said, that concludes my presentation here. I thank you, the board, for continuing to listen to the students here and to work on better ways to make our district better. So yeah, thank you.
Well, absolutely, Bruce. Thank you for your hard work, and your group has been done a wonderful job, and we need to hear from students, and that's what the position that's created for representative of student governing board. And I think that a district probably will review the recommendation and probably will work with your student governing board and maybe support in every way that we could. And we will see that if we can revisit it, next time or next 6 months to see how things has been progress or anything that we need to do extra things to support our students. So I want to open up for my board colleagues. Any comments for the Bruce report? And I didn't see anyone.
I just put my comments in the chat.
Let's thank you, Bruce. Yes, go ahead, Patty.
I just put my comments in the chat. So just thank you, Bruce.
All right, excellent. All right, okay. We finished 7.01. Any more comments, Bruce? That's it? All right. So we move to 7.02, student work during distance learning. Do
We have no
have,
items here for 7.2 this
anyone
evening.
to present? 7.8. Thank you, Superintendent Fung. So let's
We have no
move to,
items for 7.2,
so we move to 8.01, which is the superintendent and board member may request the item to be considered, discussed, and act on out of the order indicate on the agenda as per schedule. I did request to move 11.03 before 8.02. So I think this is item that I want to explain. The agenda item is number 11.03 with discussion and action to approve employment agreement to district superintendent. So last August, Superintendent Chris Van announced his resignation from the take effect at the end of this school year. We would conduct a search for the district new superintendent to start at the beginning of the next school year. The consultant was hired in December, and since then the board, with the help of the consultant, has been conducting the search. The district received many applications from many qualified candidates all over the state, and the board would like to thank all of those persons for taking the time to submit the applications and qualification. The board reviewed all of those materials closely, and we were all very impressed and felt very fortunate to be able to select from such a highly qualified pool of candidates. The board narrowed its search based on application, and on April 9, the board spent the entire day interviewing semi-finalist candidates for the position. From that group, we select 2 finalists, and on April 10, the board spent another day interviewing the 2 finalists. I think it's fair to say that the selection process was a difficult one because of how impressive the finalists are. That day, the board reached a consensus on the top candidate to be offered the position of superintendent, and the board requested that Vice President Manuel Herrera and I work with legal counsel to negotiate a superintendent contract with that person. Mr. Herrera and I have worked with legal counsel and the finalists on a proposed contract, and this evening I present to the board for consideration and approval a contract for the new superintendent of the district. Before I introduce and announce that person, I would like to thank Superintendent Chris Fung for his continued service and dedication to the district over the last year. The district is fortunate to have had Chris Fung's attention on the district and his leadership during the extraordinary times of the COVID-19 pandemic. We are also grateful for his willingness and commitment to continue to serve the district and to assist in the transition to the new superintendent. Thank you, Superintendent Fung. Now it's given me a great pleasure to announce that the board has selected Mr. Glenn Van Der Zee as the next superintendent of the district, and we present tonight a proposed contract to the board's consideration and approval for Mr. Van Der Zee as superintendent. At this point, I'd like to invite General Counsel Rogelio Ruz. Would you like to explain a description of the contract, please?
And we have a moment of applause, Madam President, just to recognize what you just announced.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, congratulations to the next superintendent, Glenn Van Der Zee. Thank you, Board Vice President.
Thank you very much. That's very generous. Is there an opportunity for me to respond to that, or would you like to hear from council first?
Oh, let's hear from Mr. Glenn Van Der Zee, Madam President.
Yeah, we hear from you first. I did not see Rogelio here yet, so why don't you just go ahead?
Well, first of all, I want to say thank you so much. I'm honored, incredibly humbled, knowing the strength of candidates. And I just have to say, just really excited to serve a wonderful educational community and the largest community of East Side that we're all committed to serve. And I recognize that on March 13, when we left school that day, that our country was in a different place. It was one of division and one where our students could question, are the institutions really ready to support all students? And that's why I'm really humbled by the appointment, knowing how necessary each one of us as educators in any capacity that is serving in Eastside to do exactly what we've committed to do. Build equitable communities is forever going to be our goal. But as we started and returned on Monday and welcomed more students back yesterday, we know as we plan for summer and fall that it will be our schools will be the first places where students return to groups, where they need to return to places of inclusion, where they are exactly that, welcomed as they are, where we can quickly find and assess where their areas of growth and where they've grown in the meantime and respond positively, because our students must drive this valley going forward and they must be full participants. And I'm grateful to work at Eastside. This community is one that I intentional of serving and am humbled to serve. And I have to say that the colleagues and team that I work with every day are amazing. They're drivers for students, they're drivers to make adults, affirm adults and make them better. And I thank you for the opportunity to continue working with them in this capacity.
Awesome. Thank you, Mr. Glenn Vanderzee. Now, Rogelio Ruz, could you take it over and describe the key term of the contract?
Yes, thank you, Board President Lay. So presented for the board's consideration and approval is a draft form of superintendent employment agreement. The agreement is substantially in the form that the board has used in the recent past for the superintendent position. I will point out some important differences. First is the term of the agreement. The proposed term for the contract is for a term of 3 years beginning July 1, 2021 and terminating on June 30th, 2024. The board, however, has the discretion during the 3-year term of the contract to extend the contract for one additional year, conditioned upon favorable annual evaluations. Mr. Vanderzee currently has a contract as Associate Superintendent of Human Resources with the district. When this contract provides that when he begins his term as superintendent on July 1st, his current contract for Associate Superintendent of Human Resources will automatically terminate. And this will be the only applicable contract. The salary that is being proposed and recommended for board approval is a base annual salary of $279,880. That is step 1 on the current board approved superintendent's salary schedule. That schedule is attached to and made a part of this contract on the very last page of this document. The contract provides for annual evaluations, and in order for Mr. Vanderzee to move up a step on the salary schedule, he will be required to have 2 consecutive positive annual evaluations by the board. Other than that, and I'd like to just turn to the last page, that way the board can see the salary schedule itself, which is, as I said earlier, the same salary schedule that the board approved a couple of years ago. And that's it right there. It currently has 4 steps on it. But everything else in the contract is substantially in the same form as the board has used in the superintendent's contract in the past. And thank you, and I'm happy to answer any questions you might have.
If there are no questions, I would like to move for approval.
Second.
All right, so any other board member comments? If not, then we will ask Mary to do a roll call.
Board President, you should also ask for public comment on this item, please.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes. I want to open up for public comments. If I don't see anyone raise hand, Chris, could you help me to see if I miss anyone want to raise hand for public comment on this item, 11.03?
I do not see any at this time.
there is no written formal public comment at this time, but I know he doesn't want me to, but I would like to make the comment that I want to thank Chris Funk for what he's done for Eastside for 9 years. And I know I've grown as an educator in watching his approach, watching his eye on equity, and leading us for 9 years is an amazing feat of itself. But the degree of focus and clarity that we have as a district and the team that he's assembled, I've been very lucky to have worked this close to learn his thinking and approaches. And I want to, as an East Sider and as a person, thank him for that leadership and all he's done for our district and professionally.
Thank you. Julio Pardo, you have your hand up. You may speak, please.
Go ahead, Julio.
Pardo President, classified employees.
Yes.
Congratulations, Glenn. I'm glad to see that you're the one. I'll tell you the truth. I don't mean to be facetious here, but the fact that it's the first time I've seen you in a suit and tie in quite a while. I was just hoping, but I gotta also thank Mr. Funk for the services he's given our district. I think he's really helped get things going and calming things down and getting us going on the right track. I'm hoping I can continue that with CSCA with Mr. Vanderzee. And I thank the board for not stretching this out so long as some in the past have been done. This one, you guys started off early this year and you made your choice before the school year ended, which is great. So that way we don't have a problem when the school year starts. So once again, thank you, Mr. Funk, for all your service. Congratulations, Mr. Vanderzee, and thank you, board.
I see Trustee Chavez has her hand up.
Okay, go ahead, Marina, please.
Yes, thank you. Mr. Funk, this is the beginning. This is not the end of the acknowledgement of all your work. I was on a panel yesterday, and one of the things that we're talking about is the Eastside Access. That was part of your vision. You have done a lot of amazing work here in Eastside that has really set the tone for education in many areas. So I want you to know that I have been so proud to lead under your leadership. And it has been a humbling and learning experience for me. And I know wherever you land, you're going to have a great impact in that community, but know that Eastside will always be your home. So thank you. Thank you for your leadership. And Glenn, we got a lot of work to do, my friend. So get your sleep in right now because it's coming and we're going to go hard. All right. You know that. No rest.
Sleep. You know, when we were working at James Lick, at the end of the day, we'd go, whoo, we did a lot. And then you drive up the next morning and you say, we still have a lot to do. And that's the work we're going to continue.
Yep. And welcome on board, Glenn. Welcome on board.
Trustee Herrera.
Go ahead.
Yes.
Herrera.
Yes. Yes, I want to add my congratulations and my sense of hopefulness and just a belief that the whole process worked in an extraordinary way and arrived at two finalists who really just outdistanced everyone else. And I could go on, but I won't talk about that process. But for me, it was a photo finish, you know, and I'm excited that we're going to be moving forward with a strong governance team and a new superintendent who's one of Eastside's own. And the challenges are as great as they've ever been, but this is an extraordinary team that we have now on the board and on the leadership positions. And the board certainly is ready to do its part, put in extra hours and really be a source of both support and, as Lorena was saying, you know, just expect it to come at you, because if nothing else, Lorena Chavez is going to move the board and the board's going to move everyone else. So I want to say that in my many years on the board, I think this is now my 6th superintendent that I'll be working with. And I've never been more hopeful. So I do want to acknowledge also Superintendent Chris Funk. He promoted 2 extraordinary people into these positions of associate superintendent. But we'll have more to say because probably in late May, the board will have its moment of acknowledging and recognizing Chris Funk for his 9 years with the Eastside School District. But, you know, amazing, just truly amazing that Glenn Vanderzee is with us, that Teresa Marquez is with us, that they're in the top leadership positions. And Chris, you have something to do with that. So on, in Mexico se dice arriba y adelante. In Mexico, they say upwards and forwards, right? All right, thank you.
Thank you, Madam President. That's all the hands that are raised.
All right. Okay. Thank you, everyone. The comments, and I know that we're going to move it forward, but we will have the recognition and acknowledgement for Superintendent Funk, probably the last board meeting of May. All right, so let's
Roll
move on
call.
to 8.02.
We need a roll call for the
Yeah,
contract.
Oh, yeah, roll call. Oh, yeah, I forgot about that. Mary, could you do that? I forgot about it. Thank you.
Student Governing Board
Sidetrack.
Representative Bruce Wynn, how do you vote?
I approve.
Thank you. Board President Lake,
Aye.
Vice President Herrera,
Aye.
Clerk Chavez,
Aye.
Member Cortese,
Aye.
Member Doe.
Aye.
Thank you.
Absolutely, unanimously vote. Congratulations again, Mr. Vanderzee. All right, let's move to 8.02. Discussion and action regarding 2021-2022 School Safety Plan Goals. Dr. Janice Power, Director of Student Services, and Teresa Marquez, Associate Superintendent of Educational Services. Please take it over.
Thank you, Madam President. We bring to you our safety plans for each of our sites. I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Powell so that she can take you through one of the comprehensive safety plans, just so that you have an idea as to what is part of the plans, but in particular, so that you're aware of the work that goes into the plans from each of the sites, but also to know that this is in alignment with the work that we do around multi-tier systems of support. And so this, although it's a task that does have to be completed as per ed code, we look to align all our efforts so that it's still working towards building equitable communities through multi-tier systems of support. So at this time, I'll turn it over to Dr. Powell.
Thank you. Chris, if you want to take us to the Independence High School plan, that would be awesome. So the Comprehensive School Safety Plan is an annual plan that we are expected to complete for every school site within Eastside School District. The plan typically incorporates 4 major components and 4 major sections. The first section of the plan is an assessment of the campus community as it relates to attendance and behavior, both on site as well as within the community. And so as you're looking at the Independence Plan, go ahead and scroll down, Chris, on the plan. Keep going. We're gonna go to section 1.
The way this is rolled out, it's not very easy to manage. It's what page would you like us to be on, Dr. Powell?
Oh, you're just going to the page that says section 1. There you go. And so here you're going to be on section 1. And really this section is a overview again of the behavior, attendance, as well as local crime rates around the school district. The second section of the plan that I'm just broadly going to speak to is focused specifically on how school sites are addressing that plan. And so what they do is they look at the data in section 1 and identify where the trends are for their school site and what their goals are for the school year. In section 2 of the plan, each of the school sites really look at what is it that they are doing on their campuses as it relates to reporting behavior, processes, and procedures. And this year, the real focus for each of our school sites was looking at how do we look at the data in the area of attendance and behavior, identify goals within those areas, and then look at our work within MTSS, our processes for uniform behavior response, and our procedures that we have on the school sites, and how do we align those in order to assist us in reaching the goals that each school site has set. The third section of the plan really goes over what the school district's responses are to disasters that might occur on our campuses. This includes anything from bomb threats to run, hide, defend drills that we do annually on our school sites. And the fourth section of the plan is really just an appendices that collects information about where safety equipment is and resources are on school sites, so that in case there's ever an emergency, that information around how we communicate and with our local law enforcement, emergency responders, as well as our school site campuses is in place. And so that really is an overview of the plan as a whole. And with that said, I know each of the board members has had an opportunity to look at these, but we would love to turn it over and answer any questions that you might have as Superintendent Funks kind of scrolls through.
I don't have any questions, but I do have a comment because I was the board member that requested that we do an overview of one of the plans. First, I just want to say thank you. These plans are super thorough, and I think it's just really important that as board members, we understand what goes into these plans. These are not literally, when you hear like safety plan, I think it's easy to think, oh, there's the layout of the campus and there's like a procedure, but it's like 70, 80 plus pages with like clear indicators, metrics, when you think about safety in every sense of the word and for stakeholders. And so I really appreciated how everything is interconnected. I saw MTSS in here as well, because it's part of the work. And so it's clear that there's a lot of connections and that there is a lot of thought process going into this, just a lot of intentionality. And so I just want to say thank you to the staff for making sure that it's super aligned to what we really care about as Eastside.
I just want to echo that and say that our APAs, as well as their school site safety teams and school council, really did put a lot of effort and work into the school safety plans and really ensuring that this plan guides the work that we're doing on school sites every day. The work that we're doing to build relationships, to build community and climate and culture, because we really truly believe that if we do those things, we'll see positive impacts as it relates to our referral data, as it relates to our suspensions. And I would encourage you, as you get a chance to look at those plans, you'll actually be able to see the impact of that work in the data, as our overall suspension trends as a district have gone down. Our chronic absenteeism rate has gone down this year as well. And so I'm just really proud and excited of the work of our APAs, many of whom are here tonight. And so if there is a specific question that you might have about a specific school site, they'd be happy to share with you as well.
Dr. Powell, I apologize. I didn't do justice to following along as you were presenting. My apologies. This was a complicated one. It was so long.
No worries. This one was just, it wasn't meant to be a presentation. We just wanted to create space since it was brought up on the agenda.
President Lay, you're on mute.
Okay, sorry. Yeah, I'm sorry. I said that I appreciate all of this school site that present the comprehensive site safety plan, and I remember that every year we have this presentation for each site, but I was wondering, you know, we look into what is the progress that we have done from last year to this year. I know that we have a couple prohibiting for discrimination, for bully, for you know, racism. I think those items, those issues are still new in our school site. So I like to see how did we compare what have done in the past and pretty much for this year or the next year, that we find any loophole or we find any things, an issue that we did not really include it on the safety plan.
Yeah, so overall, each school site looks at their specific data because we know that the trends are different at each school site. You will see in some of the plans, they did talk about school bullying and incidents of bullying at their sites, and they shared the data over the last couple of years. So you can see where those trends have gone down or in other cases where they might have gone up. But not only can you see that, you can see what their objective is and what their goal is. So if we had 100 this year, our goal is to drop to 50, or we want to see a 10% decrease in that. The plans also will outline the specific objectives. So what are the tasks that they're going to do? So in some incidents, we have school sites that have made a commitment to provide school-wide grade level presentations around bullying as one of the objectives that they've set in the plan. And so again, I would just really encourage you as you think about the trends for some of the sites to really explore that plan, because the goals, the objectives there's the long-term stretch goal, but there's also those intermediate benchmarks that each school is going to try to implement in order to see outcomes. And that really is the work that we want to do. We don't want to have this year's this goal, next year's that goal. We really want to look at the overall trends and then set benchmarks or measurable objectives that we can look at year over year that outline the work that has been done so that we can see that progress. And I'm sure the APS will tell you, I really pushed that as we worked on this year. And they, again, did just an amazing job really diving into that data at a deep conscious level. They did an absolutely amazing job.
Absolutely, I agree with you, Ms. Powell. And I know that one of the key issue is for mental health. Is very important. And I think that's, when we look into the safety plan, when we coming back in fall, so hopefully that things hopefully will get better. So we're going to continue to monitor and help everyone to be safe when we come back to reopen the school in fall, right?
We are right there with you.
Okay, any other? Yes, thank you, Ms. Power. Any other comments from the board or any comments from the public? If I don't see any one raise hand.
No, I think we just need to move to accept the reports.
Oh yeah, we will to accept this report. I need motion.
Move to accept the report, please.
All right.
Second.
Okay, roll call, please, Mary.
Student Governing Board Representative Bruce Nguyen, how do you vote?
I approve.
Thank you. Board roll call vote, President Lay,
Aye.
Vice President Herrera,
Aye.
Clerk Chavez,
Aye.
Member Cortese,
Aye.
Member Doe.
Aye, and thank you, Dr. Powell, for your hard work.
Absolutely. All right, so now we can move to 8.03. Presentation and or discussion regarding Oak Grove High School single plan for student achievement. Martha Brazil, Principal, and Teresa Marcus, Associate Superintendent of Educational Services. Please take it over.
Yes, thank you, Madam President. So today marks the first presentation from our school sites. Each of our school site principals will be coming to the board throughout the next few board meetings to share with you highlights, in particular, their goals and actions from their single plan for student achievement. I do want to preface this by saying that all the site plans, the ones that you will see presented by each of our school principals, are aligned to the key focus areas within our learning continuity of attendance plan for our, actually I should say the LCAP. All these plans are getting mixed in my head now. The local control accountability plan for our district, which include our graduation rate, our college and career readiness, attendance and chronic absenteeism rates, behavior referrals and suspension, and the achievement of our English language learners. And so Ms. Brazil has graciously agreed to be the first to present. And so now I'd like to very proudly turn it over to Principal Brazil.
Right. Thank you very much. And start. I want to just say good evening, everyone. My name is Martha Brazil. I'm principal at Oak Grove High School, and I want to start by thanking the Board of Trustees and Superintendent Funk and everybody that's here tonight for allowing me to share how Oak Grove has designed a school plan for student achievement aligned to the district's LCAP goals and core values. The next slide. Okay, I'm excited to share with you who we are as a school site and how the work we are doing connects and contributes to the district's goals of building equitable communities. We've said this for years and it still holds true today. Our goal is to make sure that students know that they belong and can be successful at Oak Grove. And as we move through the upcoming slides, you'll see that the 4 core values listed here are embedded into all of our goals. Before I dive into our goals, though, I want to just give you a little glimpse of Oak Grove and our background. As you can see, our enrollment has remained fairly consistent. It's a little bit of a fluctuation in the last 6 years, but in terms of the breakdown of ethnicity, it's pretty consistent. You don't see huge gaps or jumps and fluctuations in our colors. It's pretty proportional to what our enrollment is. And the same is true in our program designation breakdown. You'll see that for our English language learners, we tend to be between 15 and 18%. Our students with disabilities between 12 and 14%, and our socioeconomic disadvantaged students between mid-50s and 61%, except for this past year, which were just under 40%. And for that, we attribute to the fact that students did not need to turn in free and reduced lunch forms this year in order to pick up breakfast and lunch. And so there wasn't that real sense of urgency to get those turned in. And because of that, you see that our numbers are lower. And other than that, it's been fairly consistent. In terms of our mission statement, Oak Grove is committed to, Oak Grove is committed to fostering a safe and inclusive, culturally responsive learning environment that provides high quality instruction to all students. Again, the idea of belonging and being successful. If you look at the next slide, when the WASC visiting committee came and did their initial visit in 2017, they made the following 4 recommendations: to identify and use best instructional practices consistently, to use effective professional development, to improve the collection, disaggregation, and analysis of data. So we make sure we embed that in everything that we do now, and to increase student voice and staff's meaningful interaction with students. When they came out last year and did the 3-year midterm review, they were pleased with the progress that we've made around professional development, analyzing data, and building strong connections with our students. So they really encourage us to continue with the work that we were doing. You'll see that they say maintain focus on rigor and continue to identify relevant Tier 1 interventions. So that really gave us a sense of validation that the work we were doing was recognized and appreciated. In terms of our goals, so I want to just give you a sense of how this page is structured. At the very top of the page, you're going to see that's the district LCAP goal. On the left, the far left, you see our Oak Grove goal. And we have changed over the last few years. We've kept the same goal because we want to make sure that we meet our district's goal. Although the ways that we get there are going to vary from school site to school site because our needs at our school are different from Piedmont Hills, Evergreen, Andrew Hill. So where you're really going to see the changes or the differences are under those strategies. And then also the second goal is our long-term goal. And so I'll start with the first one, which is Oak Grove CSBA. And we also, I should note that we've phrased ours or formatted ours as SMART goals, which means they include a deadline, an indicator of how much we want to improve within that time frame, and also what metrics we'll use. So for our goal, we have by June 2022, Oak Grove will provide high quality instruction, learning opportunities, and guidance supports to increase levels of college and career readiness of graduates by 3% as measured by the California dashboard. One of the things that we're going to do, one of our long-term goal that's going to take us, we're going to shoot out for 3 years. We're going to say that our long-term goal is by the time our students become sophomores, before they start their 10th grade year at Oak Grove, they're going to have all 60 credits. And it doesn't seem like a big thing, but that's a tough reach to get to. And it's important because one, that's where you see a huge drop in data. But also we know that if we can get our sophomores starting their sophomore year on track, the likelihood that they continue that pattern their junior year and senior year is just exponentially higher for their graduation rate. So what we're going to do, our strategies, everything that you see in red, that is taken from our WASC recommendations. So I tried to figure out an easy way for you to see how WASC connects to our strategies. So number one, we're going to offer differentiated professional development, supporting students, student-centered learning and promoting critical thinking. We're going to structure our collaboration around high-quality lessons and maximizing student engagement. And we're going to provide one-to-one instructional coaching to improve methodology and instruction. We know that the big thing, when we change what is taught and how it's taught in class, that's where you're going to see the big change in student performance. So for goal 2, the LCAP goal is provide physical, emotional, social, academic supports to ensure students are making appropriate yearly progress towards high school graduation. So we put our goal to be 3% overall for all students, but we've added a little extra challenge. We want our targeted subgroups, our Hispanic students, African-American, English language learners, and students with disabilities to grow by 5%. And we've set a higher target for our subgroups because we know there's a greater gap to close. And based on our data, you might remember, probably not, but I'm hoping, back in October when I gave this presentation, we really did show that over the last 3 years, we've been making all of that progress and meeting our goals. So we're hoping that we're just going to continue that trend. We're going to support students in meeting graduation requirements. Not only are we going to provide the recovery opportunities for students who need it, but we're also going to continue to accelerate our students in AP programs and our GATE students or AVID type students. We're going to develop strong instructional strategies built on foundations of equitable grading practices and culturally responsive teaching. You may remember when I talked last time, I talked about some of the professional development we're doing with Grading for Equity, Joe Feldman's book, and Courageous Conversations About Race, the Glenn Singleton book. And so we really are really trying to really move in that direction to be mindful of our students and how to support them. And then the other is MTSS Tier 1 academic interventions. That is, you're going to see that just embedded throughout all of our goals because it makes such a huge difference. So in goal 3 for our English language learners, we want to make sure that we, our goal is to get a 5% redesignation rate for our students, which means that we are going to increase the number of students we have becoming English proficient. We are going to, our long-term goal is to increase the students' graduation rate for their 4 years. And we know that by getting the redesignation rate and getting our students proficient in English, they're going to do better in class. We're going to have our academic counselors and our long-term English language learner mentors monitoring EL students, looking at their grades, their attendance, and reaching out to parents to keep them involved. And we've actually, this is the first time, I would say in a few years, really focusing on that. We've seen a lot more improvement this year by having somebody who that is their sole job that they're doing. So not sole, but a primary job, I should say. Teachers reviewing EL student data at the semester. We want to make sure that we're working. I talked with Randy Phelps after our last October presentation about how we can get them identified and targeted so it's really easy for our teachers to see who our EL students are so that we can look at data while we're in departments. And then our goal also is to create a professional learning community focused on ELL students. So goal 4, decreasing suspension rates, so by June 2022, we'll establish and sustain healthy school cultures through relationship-centered practices to keep students engaged in their learning environment and decrease suspension by 5%. What we want to see in our long-term goal, you probably looked at that panorama data that comes out every year. We get it twice a year, and we really want to see a growth. Right now at 63% of students who say that they have a strong sense of belonging. We want that to jump to 73% in that panorama over the course of 3 years. And in order to get that, we're going to continue the work we're doing at the MTSS. We're going to continue to offer professional development about implicit biases, microaggressions, and culturally responsive teaching. And one thing that has really helped is really focusing on that, the district uniform behavior response. We've seen huge changes in our data, and we attribute that because we've been really making sure our students and our staff are really familiar with that. We've seen an increase on the number of teacher interventions that happened, so that you see a decrease in referrals being written because teachers are really getting there and doing the intervention and conversations with parents and kind of working through them stuff themselves. We've been using SHAPE data to identify students needing support ahead of time. So when we see that students are struggling with attendance or with grades or with referrals or something like that, we can call them in and have conversations and kind of get them back on track. And then also focusing on student-teacher relationships. We know that if we increase students' engagement in school, make it a place where they want to be, and give them the tools to feel supported, they'll do better. And so all of this is built into our MTSS work, which is really the background of goals 4 and goal 5, the next one, which is focused on engaging and connecting students and up to appropriate staff supports and programmatic alternatives to increase students' attendance. We want to make sure we're going to do that through our Eagle Support Center. That's work with our social worker and all of our wraparound services. We're going to continue to provide mediations from our advisors and APA for alternatives to suspension, and provide support and intervention to transition students back to school, whether they're coming from other schools or maybe juvenile hall, or even maybe just from a suspension. We want to make sure that we don't just put them inside the classroom and expect them to do well. We want to make sure that we provide create safety nets and let them know who they go to contact and what resources are available for them to be successful when they do come back to us. And then we also want to make sure that we increase student connections to school by positively promoting school events, activities, increasing student participation. And then on the last page, it's really just, before I take your questions, if you have any, is just really letting you see that's a glimpse of Oak Grove High School when we have when our students are on campus, and that's what MTSS looks like on our campus. Very positive campus culture, things that everybody is interested in. And again, when you make a campus feel like that, they're going to want to be there. And we've seen the improvements from that. So that's it. My presentation. Phew. That was a lot in 10 minutes. I'm sorry.
Ms. McCoy, for the presentation. I missed. Yeah, I missed the visit to every other school, and just like Oak Grove. And I want to say that I want to congratulate to your school that you have a high school senior. Triati Roni has received the National Winner Award for Aspiration in Computing. I think I met her 2 years ago when I visit your school.
Yes,
and
you met her
I'm really
upstairs.
impressed about.
Yes, you met her upstairs in the student center. Yes, you're right.
Absolutely. I remember her, very bright young woman.
She's awesome.
Exactly. So let me ask you, can you help me understand a little bit more when you talk about using SHAPE to identify student needing support? I still don't understand, what mechanism, what avenue that you're using the program SHAPE to identify student need support.
Okay, so what we have is there's so much data that our district can provide us with, whether it is through Infinite Campus or SHAPE or Dashboard. I mean, there's a lot of stuff out there. But the really nice thing is being able to find out, and we can pull up data, and in a spreadsheet we can look to see, where students are, like how many, who's not doing well in a certain number of their classes, or which students are missing a lot of classes, aren't engaged, who are getting referrals. And we can break that down. We can disaggregate the data and look at it by grade. We can look at it by ethnicity. We can even look at it based on which teachers are giving a lot of referrals. And so we can go through and just really break down and see, okay, we can look at times of the day. Do we see that we have more problems after lunch or after school, as opposed to nobody's doing anything bad before school or first period, second period? Everyone's too tired probably, but later in the day, as the day goes on, we can go through and we can see what's happening. You can actually, if everything is entered in correctly, even look at areas where problems are. So it's just a really nice a system for us to be able to go in and look at what's happening. And like I said, we can get student names. We can really just disaggregate that probably better than most, easier than most data points that we have. So it's very, very helpful. And again, the benefit of doing that is rather than waiting for the semester to see when our students have already fallen behind, or when they're already so far, their attendance is already so far gone that it's going to be a real struggle to bring themselves up, we can say, okay, who enrolled in school late? Maybe we want to target those students and really make sure that we can connect them on campus, because we know that they're starting a week or 2 weeks later. Or maybe we want to say after 2 weeks, who has already fallen behind or who has already missed 8 days out of the 10, and we can start targeting them and figuring out what's going on. So it's just a really way to be preventative as opposed to waiting until they're already 30 credits behind.
Absolutely. Thank you for your presentation. Let me ask my board colleagues, Lorena Chavez, please go ahead.
Thank you. First of all, I just want to give you the biggest shout out, Martha. This is a very nice presentation, very comprehensive. And I have to say, my favorite part is this picture right here.
I love it.
Right? You saying like, this is what it looks like in action. Yeah. Right? Hearing it is nice, but seeing it, especially when seeing our children, is the most beautiful piece. So I want to acknowledge that. I want to acknowledge you for going first. And I know this is, the second round. So I'm very, very excited to hear all the things that you have in store for Oak Grove and leading the Oak Grove community. I love how you are very thoughtful in making the connections and saying, okay, this is like at a high level, the district goal. This is what it means for my school, strategy, tactic. What does this mean for teachers? This is the immediate goal. This is where it's going to get me in a few years. You're thinking about it all. And through like the question that you just answered for Trustee Lay, I could also see you thinking at even a deeper level, which was really cool, at least for me to hear and experience. I really appreciated that. So I just want to note that, because there's so much going on, and you could easily get lost and think, oh man, well, I can do this thing, but let me create this other goal. And then it ends up being a little bit of a nightmare. But just I could see the way that you're thinking about it all is very purposeful, very thoughtful. And I love the subgroup piece too, right? There's something to be noted about like, yep, we have work to do as a whole. And let me acknowledge a fact right here. These groups, we need to think about them a little differently. And this is how I'm going to do it, but still also within what you're already doing. So you're not spreading yourself more thin or your staff than what you're already doing. So overall, very nice job. This is like music to my ears, Martha. I'm so excited. I can't wait to go visit you all in the fall. Fingers crossed, everything is back to whatever we're going to call normal.
Yeah. And I will say, I actually went in and snuck in and added this picture last night around 11 o'clock last night, because I was like, there's no pictures. I was a yearbook advisor. I need pictures. But I did want to just kind of say something to Board President Vonleh when she was asking the question earlier about the data. One thing that's nice, and it kind of piggybacks with what you were just saying about, I love that our goals, because they are completely aligned with LCAP, whether it's our WAS goals or CPSA goals or anything, even the safety plan, the goals that we have in there, you can see that those go with goal 4 and 5. So we don't have 5 different pools of goals. That all fits under the umbrella of what we want to accomplish as a school. So it's not like my APA is working on one thing and my APED and I are working on something else. It all goes under that umbrella of those 5 LCAP goals. So very cool. Thank you. Whew.
Thank you, Martha.
Thank you.
Other comments? All right. If I don't see any other comments, then thank you, I'm really glad to see the presentation and looking forward, maybe next year, we come back to visit the school. All right, we'll move to 8.0, an action to adopt Resolution 2020-2021-26, State and then Educational Services. Please take it over.
Yes, thank you, Madam President. Good evening once again. Teresa Marquez, Associate Superintendent for Educational Services. And so what I bring forth for your action is a resolution that is in alignment with the State Board of Education's work around Assembly Bill 24, which is the intent to create opportunities for students to earn a seal of civic engagement through work that they do both at school and outside of their community. And really, this is exciting because it's in direct alignment with our graduate profile. So I really see this as an opportunity for us to be able to leverage the opportunity of providing an honor through the State Seal of Civic Engagement for our students, while still leveraging the skills that are portrayed through our graduate profile. One of the elements in our graduate profile is to actually be a productive member of community, where you're able to look at problems both locally and globally and provide innovative ways of working to resolve whatever issues may surface. And so as a district, as part of this, we're expected to develop criteria in alignment with the overarching criteria as presented by the State Board of Education. And so I'm really excited of the opportunity to be able to engage our Instructional Policies Committee, which they've reviewed this resolution and they have voted to bring forth the language that you see here for your approval. And also, I'm very excited to be able to have the opportunity to really leverage the existing opportunities that exist within our district, such as our Model UN program at Santa Teresa. And so I've secured the support of the two teachers there, both Mr. Brian Phipps and Ms. Mai Nguyen, who will be working very closely with our Ed Services team as well as IPC to really develop that criteria that our students will be able to have equitable opportunities across our system to be able to really engage in civic-minded projects so that they could earn this seal. So I bring this forth to the board in hopes that you will approve it.
Move for approval.
Wow, absolutely.
I will, I want to make sure, I made an amendment to the resolution, so I will second as long as we are talking about the amended version of the resolution.
Yes, we are, Trustee Cortese, we are.
That's what's open.
Okay, great.
Absolutely.
And I gotta say, I am so excited to see this. You know, the Student Governing Board has been near and dear to my heart, as well as all the board members. To see them all in action. And Bruce, I'm sure you'll have some comments about this too, because I know this is something that really matters to you and your board. But I just, part of my goal in creating the student, in working with students to create the Student Governing Board, I did not do it by myself or with Superintendent Funk. We did it collectively with students. And the whole point was, how can we create more opportunities for students to lead and serve and experience engagement in our civic process. So very happy to support this motion.
Okay, yeah, I actually do have some comments, but
Let's go ahead, board member Doe.
Actually, what I was going to say is I'd love to hear from Student Representative Bruce Nguyen before I make my comment.
Yeah, thank you. So I absolutely support this resolution because not only, you know, is my role really important in making sure that, you know, students are represented, but this also works both ways. More student representatives would be able to be incentivized and also acknowledged for all of their hard work in the entire district. And I'm really happy that the class of 2022 would be potentially able to benefit more out of the out of the challenges and obstacles that they went through this year as well. And potentially upon graduation, they would be able to exit with a sense of fulfillment. So with that, I want to yield to the other students that want to talk about their experiences and their support in the general audience. Yeah.
All right. Go ahead.
Stephen Liu, please unmic or unmute, excuse me.
Hi, my name is Stephen. I'm a student at Evergreen Valley High School and the president of EVHS's School Site Council, as well as a member of the ESUHSD Student Assembly. Unfortunately, not all youth are civically engaged, and with thousands of students in California soon eligible to vote, and many of those already able to pre-register to vote, engaging these students in our community and elections is really needed to amplify the voices of a diverse and innovative group of young people. Encouraging civic engagement beginning in high school has the potential to inspire many more students to volunteer in their communities, learn more about politics, and take action to work for causes they believe in. It's critical that we take action to support students and recognize the work they do in their community, and promoting civic engagement through the State Seal for Civic Engagement will only further ESUHSD's commitments to excellence and diversity along with our other core values. I'm excited to see this resolution adopted, and I hope to be able to add this seal to my own diploma when I graduate in 2022, and I'm confident that many of my peers will be excited as well. Thank you.
Paula Escobar, please unmute.
Good afternoon, board. I just really want to express support for the Seal of Civic Engagement and just the need for it in general within our district. We see how important civic engagement is within youth and how we have been tackling real world issues within our own student governing board alongside other student voice channels. Thus, it's so super important to recognize these student efforts while also attempting to uplift underrepresented student voices, especially when our district is composed of 90% students of color. With this, I think we can make a lot of great strides in, as mentioned by Stephen, improving youth vote turnouts, while also just elevating and amplifying the needs of students overall. I think this is a really great step in the right direction. And I also want to add on some procedure in order to better recognize all students and then all of their efforts in community work. I believe there's such like different student voice bodies, including Student Governing Board, Model United Nations, Speech and Debate. So I think recognizing all these different avenues and also just recognizing student voice as a whole will be just really great for our district. And I want to thank you all.
Thank you. There's no more public comment.
Okay, board member Joe, would you like to have any comments? You would raise your hand.
I raised my hand earlier just to make sure that we listen to the students, and which they did have a chance to speak. So I thank you for the opportunity to hear from them.
Can you hear me?
Supporting this resolution.
Board member Doe?
Yeah, Madam President, your connection is not very strong. You're going in and out, but
yeah, I thank you for our student that spoke. Can you hear me?
Yes, you're going in and
Hello?
out though.
Can you hear me?
Yes, you might want to turn off your
sorry
video
about
just
that.
a bit more.
Yeah. Okay, can you hear me better now?
Yes.
Yes, it's better now.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Okay, I want to say thank you to all students who spoke at this item for State Seal of Civic Engagement. I think this is very important issue for students as well as the community, you know, and unfortunately, this resolution was applied for the student who graduated in 2022. But I know that's a lot of work for a student governing board as well as other students, and I'm really pleased to see this resolution is will be approved, you know, for today. No other comments, Chris, then I think we do a roll call, right? That's right.
Yes.
Because okay, Thank you,
That's
Mary.
correct.
Would you please do roll call?
Student Governing Board Representative Bruce Nguyen, how do you vote?
I approve.
Thank you. Board roll call vote. President Lay,
Aye.
Vice President Herrera,
Aye.
Clerk Chavez,
Aye.
Member Cortese,
Aye.
Member Dow.
Aye.
All right, thank you. The item passed unanimously. Now we move to item, no item on 9. So we move to item 10, which is public members who wish to address the board. So I'm going to read that 10.01. Member of the public may address the board on any subject not on tonight's agenda. However, provisions of the Brown Act Government Code, Section 54954.28 and 54954.3 preclude any action as an unagendized item. No response is required from the Board of District staff and no action can be taken. However, the board may instruct the superintendent to agendize the item for a future meeting. Any person may address the board on any item on the meeting agenda. Person wishing to address the board must fill out a speaker request form via online submission at https form, and your comment will be read as loud as part of the public meeting. Comment should be limited to no more than 1,000 characters in length. You may also raise your virtual hand in Zoom to request to speak. You will have 2 minutes to speak. Any comments from publics, Chris?
There is no
I do
written
not.
public comment.
All right,
Madam-
thank you, Mr.
Madam President, we have one hand raised, and that's CSEA President Julio Pardo, who gets 5 minutes to speak. Please unmute yourself, Mr. Pardo.
Thank you, Mr. Funk. I won't need 5 minutes. Julio Pardo, President, Chapter 187 East Foothills CSCA. I just want to speak about the fact that this past week was the reopening of most of our sites. And we had an issue only because I think people misunderstood a document that went out from the district office, and everyone was assuming that everybody was going to be coming back at the same time. And we had to have a lot of talks with a lot of people. And the district also helped us to get across the fact that, yes, we're opening, but not everybody is coming back at the same time. That was the big issue. That was the big issue. That was a big concern. So I thank the district for helping us out on that. We still have some little problems that we can work out individually. But other than that, I think things are going pretty well. The district has done a great job in providing the testing for us so that every week we know whether we've been exposed or not. Within, I think it's 24 hours that we're notified if something happens after our tests. The district has given us information as to where we can go get our vaccinations, and I'm hoping everyone is doing that. It is unfortunate that, to be honest, that we have lost some people because of this pandemic, but it is what it is. That's all I'll say. But I want to thank Mr. Fong. I want to thank the administration for providing all this for us. And one last note, not to date Mr. Glenn Vanderzee, but I think we've known each other since last century. I'll put it that way. So again, thank you all. And I really do appreciate what the district has done regarding the COVID and trying to make sure the health of all the employees as well.
That's all public comment.
No other comment? Thank you. All right. So then we move patient information discussion and our action update on novel coronavirus 19 and school reopening. Mr. Fung?
Yeah, so tonight I would like to discuss 2 items regarding our COVID-19 update and school reopening. The fact that Monday the 19th was the first week that all employees were coming back to school sites, and that we were offering support to those students that opted in. And so we want to highlight that, and then also discuss a little bit about graduations, upcoming graduation commencements later this next month. Although this doesn't look orange, not sure why on the county public health website it was no longer a true orange, but we are in the orange tier. And we came very close this past Wednesday to moving to the yellow tier. And the expectation is that the county will move to the yellow tier next Wednesday, which is very exciting because it is demonstrating that with the vaccines and with everyone following public health guidelines, wearing masks and social distancing, it is definitely working. And it's making it more and more likely that our state will open up more this summer and really prepare us to be back for in-person instruction, somewhat back to normal in the fall. And you can see with new cases, 63, this is the lowest we've been. If you recall, when we closed schools March 16th of last year, we were at 51 cases a day. So a year later, we're almost back to where we were. So that is just really exciting news. And as I mentioned, we will be in the yellow tier, hopefully next Wednesday. And so when Governor Newsom hopes that we will be out of the colored tier by June 15th, I think we're very close to that happening. Also, when you're in the yellow tier, that also means that we have really the least restrictions available when it comes to athletics, where the guidelines require certain tests to be done for indoor sports in the red and the orange, but not in the yellow. We will continue to test everyone who wants to be tested so that we just have that good measured, that's part of the layered mitigation that we should continue and have in place. But it will move from mandatory to voluntary once we reach the yellow tier. So April 19th, Monday, we began having students return for in-person support. And as you can see with the picture to the right, students actually in class in a science class there in Miss Shea's class working on a lab. On the left, you can see by school site, the number of students that opted in to come back for in-person support, with Evergreen having 504, Independence 373, Piedmont Hills 357, with a total of 3,041 students that have returned this past week. Most of these students tend to come on Wednesday at each of the sites, but we do have kids throughout the week throughout the district. Any questions so far? And I probably should get your pictures back up so I can actually see if anyone has their raised hand. My colleagues will help me if I miss any hands. This next slide is just, this is on our district website, and it's also on the school websites. And when you click, oh no, okay. For some reason, the link is not working, but I am going to stop sharing for a quick second. And I am going to take you to our district website. Let's see here. I don't want that. It's not letting me get out of that. Well, I apologize why it's not letting me. Let me open up a new tab here and get there. East Side Union High School District. All right, let me get back to sharing. So on our homepage, anyone can scroll down and get to the update on click to the COVID-19 update, scroll down, and you will see that with our reopening plan, this talks about the district level plan. And then at the end of this page, there are links to every single school site that has their specific safety plan in place. And then it also has a list of every teacher that is working to support our students. So if we just clicked on Andrew Hill, you will see that it is a similar format that talks about the outset, the program. And then here they have listed their teacher, how many students they're seeing and on which days and time and location. So you could pull that up with every single school across the district by going to this homepage here and just getting a sense of how many teachers per site are volunteering. I should be able to do this a lot quicker than I'm doing this. Let's go to Overfelt and take a look at theirs. Let's see, their list must be right here. There it is. They have a link to their list. So you can see the number of teachers, the location, and the day that they are actually meeting with students. So any questions regarding our plan and how that is going?
We just started this past week, right?
That's correct.
Have you heard of like any highlights so far? I know we're just starting, but curious to hear.
Well, I know that people are just simply excited to be back and just excited to be able to see their kids. Ms. Marquez, have you had any reports that you would like to share?
Yeah, some teachers have actually emailed just how excited they are. The picture that you saw there from Ms. Shays, she actually sent it directly to Ed Services team, just super excited, wanted to share how active the students were. And I took that quote directly from her email that it was the happiest day of 2021 for her. Other teachers too have just expressed how great it is just to be back. Some teachers even expressed that even though they had 1 or 2 kids, that being able to speak with their fellow colleagues, seeing other adults was beginning to feel a little bit more like what they would consider, the old normal, but just even being able to be around students, adults, just a different feel. Even for us at the district office, we also returned the energy coming back on that first day just from staff was exciting, hard to not smile and want to just even engage in conversations because of that personal connection. So it's been great. I'm sure there's some challenges still, some little hiccups we have to work around, but it's been great. And the last thing I'll say, a highlight is our mild to severe students in our adult transition program were able to come to the new building that we have adjacent to the district office. And I had the opportunity, along with Dr. Cavallero, our coordinator, Mr. Aaron Lott, coordinator Tina Swanson, a number of para-educators, greet them as they were coming off of the bus, greet them as they were coming in with their parents, and just the excitement to see them, one, return in person, but also enter a new building was just really awesome to see the kids' excitement, and then the parent excitement to see them. They wanted to tour the new building. So it was just a great way to start this week, great way to start on Monday.
Very heartwarming.
Yes, and to Patty's point, I remember when we had this conversation about coming back, and it hasn't left my mind, Patty. If we build it, they will come. And it's these 3,000 plus students that decided to come. And so I'm excited to keep on talking about this, see how we engage our students and support our Eastside community. So thank you for all your work on this.
Very happy to hear the students that are coming back.
Well, another exciting piece of information, because we're now in the orange tier and moving to the 11th yellow tier, is the fact that our current senior class of 2021, is going to be able to have an in-person commencement. We're not there to have the traditional one yet, where it's everyone together, an unlimited crowd. but we're going to be able to do in-person in cohorts. And between now and the end of May, the size of that cohort hopefully will continue to grow. And so, I sent out a letter to our seniors and their parents back in March, stating that we would have in-person ceremonies tied to public health guidelines, and we would meet those. Tonight, I just wanted to share just a few items with you so that you're aware of what our sites are preparing for. So when you talk about the cohort and the audience, you're talking about everyone that is part of that ceremony. So staff members, the seniors themselves, and then the spectators all incorporate the total number of that capacity limit. We're fortunate that we have beautiful stadiums and they're fairly large stadiums. And so right now, those stadiums are about 33% capacity. And so when you look at schools like Independence or Evergreen Valley that has 2,800 students, and if we limit it to 2 members of the household or 4 members of the household, you can see how we'll meet that capacity fairly quickly, and that's why you have to have cohorts. They suggest recommend 2 hours between each cohort because, as you all remember, when our seniors do their recessional and walk out, they all walk into this little huge traffic jam of everyone trying to find their senior, everyone trying to find their friends and family members, taking pictures and all that excitement. And we're going to have to really work hard to try to keep individuals moving so that they can go off and celebrate and take their photos other places. And so that's why you want to make sure that you have plenty of time in between the cohorts. Right now, it's just household units. And so sites will have to figure out, are they going to issue tickets? Are they going to issue wristbands? However, they're going to do that so that we can make sure that we know exactly how many people are coming in. Of course, everyone will need to wear their face coverings, and they need to be 6 feet apart outside of their family. So each family group will be together, but they need to be 6 feet apart. And so these are things that we definitely can accommodate and work. But I think the biggest issue is that coming to and that leaving when everyone wants to celebrate. We're just going to have to be very thoughtful at each site how that happens. Some other things, oops, what happened here? Some other guidelines. I don't want this. What happened here? Oh, I apologize. Let's see here. I must have clicked on one of the links accidentally. So there's the venue outside a maximum of 33% capacity. We're not really recommending because we don't have the capacity to make sure that family members or guests show their test, their negative test, or their proof of vaccination. We really don't want to get involved of monitoring that. So I think the 67% might be a little high going that way. However, if by the end of May, we're already at 11 or yellow, tier, or the tiers go away, then the capacity is going to increase significantly. So they're going to build their cohorts at a certain level, and then they'll have to adjust as we get closer to May. But the exciting news is we're going to be able to hold in-person commencements. So one of the things before I take questions is that because I'm in the same boat right now. Our youngest son is graduating from college. Unfortunately, they're doing it indoors because it is a Jesuit. So they're doing it at the cathedral. And so they're limiting family members. And so here, I don't want to take a space from a family member. So I'm directing our staff that we will not be participating in the graduations so that we don't take space away. Certainly the exception to Miss Marquez, because she has a senior daughter graduating from Piedmont Hills. Of course, Miss Marquez should attend that. I've asked the principals to reach out to trustees that if you have a niece, or if you have someone very special in your life that you would like to be part of their celebration, please reach out and set that up. But figure out what cohort that person's going to be in, because some of our sites might have 3 or 4 cohorts over the entire day. And it doesn't really make sense for us to all be there, as well as we really shouldn't be taking spots away from family members. So that's my thoughts and my recommendation to the board. Any questions, comments, or concerns that you may have?
Chris, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, Chris, can you hear me? Okay, thank you for let us know that for cohort that if any close friend or any relative, in a family who graduated, then we will work with Teresa Marcus. Congratulations to your family that has someone graduate, as well as Teresa Marcus for has a senior who graduated this year. My question for you is if parents want to sign up for the student, they still can sign up now, even though our time already set up for April 19, or they still, it's too late for them to sign up for their children to attend those course classes.
Well, I mean, ideally, we do want to be responsive to our students and parents, but at the same time, we need to be able to make sure that we have one of their teachers available and or that their teacher is not at full capacity where they need the most support. And so I think this week, people might be excited, and all of a sudden we might get requests for people to start next week, and that makes perfect sense. But I think once we hit the May, we probably should close that window, because with May, there's only 3 weeks left and then finals. And so I think we can try to honor people this week and or next week, but once May 1st hits, I think we should keep it as is.
Thank you. Any other board member has any comments? If not,
so we're doing
Lorena?
outside, Funk? We're all outside or inside too? I didn't quite understand.
I'm sorry, for which one, Ms. Chavez?
Graduation.
They're all going to be outside. It's my son's graduation is inside, which is limiting how many of my family members can go. I think actually our dog's going to get in before the grandparents because we have too many grandparents.
Oh my gosh. Okay. No other board comments. Then we move to we don't need any action 11.01, right, Chris?
No action. Nope.
Okay. All right. For 11.02, discussion and action to nominate candidate for 2021 CSBA Delegate Assembly runoff election for Region 20, Santa Clara County. I think this item that I want to speak a little bit about this item 11.02. Myself and Board Trustee Andres Quintero and Richard Watson, the 3 will run off for 2 positions for the CSBA for the delegate. I request this time only to vote for only me, so I have better chance to be on the CSBA delegate to represent the voice of Asian American. That's because last time when we vote, we have like 6, 7 spots, and we picked 6 spots. And unfortunately, we get into the runoff election right now. So that's why my suggestions, and if the board can just vote only for me, because at CSBA delegate Andre Quinteros, but I heard that for Region 20, the leader can appoint another delegate among 3 of us. So I think the chance that I will get in to CSBA delegate will be very slim if I don't have everyone's support for only my position. I
So
open up for everyone to have comments.
I'd like to move the board approval of you solely as for this position, this nomination. I'm
Second.
not sure how to describe it.
Thank you.
I'd like to second the motion.
Okay. Any other comments? If not, then we do roll call, right, Mary?
Yes, we do. Student Governing Board Representative Bruce Wynn, how do you vote?
I approve.
Thank you. Board roll call vote. President Lay,
Aye.
Vice President Herrera,
Aye.
Clerk Chavez,
Aye.
Member Cortese,
Aye.
Member Doe.
Aye.
Thank you, all board members who nominate me for this item, CSBA Delegate Assembly. All right, we already moved 11.03 already, so we looking to for the item 13.01, presentation and our discussion regarding NG solar production update. Mr. Chris Chu, Associate Superintendent of Business Services, and Roger Silvera, Director of Facility Maintenance and Operations, Emily Douglas, Regional Manager NG, and David Bowen, Director of Energy Management NG. Please take it over.
Yes, good evening, everybody. Tonight we have a presentation on the status of the district's solar generation initiative that we took on many years back. So tonight I'd like to welcome back our partners with the district. I'd like to introduce both Emily Douglas and David Baldwin with NG. Also, they were also known under the names of Optera, and if you remember, Chevron Energy Services. So tonight I'd like to introduce Emily and David to give us a solar production update.
Great, thank you, Chris, and thank you, President Lay and members of the board for having us here this evening. As Chris said, my name is Emily Douglas, and I'm a regional manager for NG. Our team has partnered with Eastside for more than a dozen years now, so I'm particularly honored and pleased to present you with the solar update on an evening when I can also pile on a little bit of recognition of Chris Funk for his tremendous leadership of this district. So thank you for your advocacy, your vision, and your passion, and your service to the students of Eastside.
Thank you.
In our partnership actually with Mr. Vanderzee as well, when he was leading educational services years and years ago, it's powerful to be here tonight to see the culture of this organization putting students first and the board working together so wonderfully and collaboratively. So congratulations, Mr. Vanderzee, as well. On the first slide, I'll take just a moment to reintroduce my organization to some of the trustees who know us from before, and for those who don't, and introduce ourselves to everyone else. As Chris mentioned, we've had a few different logos on our business cards, but it's been the same team throughout. I'll give a brief history of our project work together, and then a report on the solar project performance, and then I'll be happy to take your questions. So you can go on to the next slide. Very briefly, NG is the largest independent energy company in the world, based in Paris and totally focused on the zero carbon transition. So that's what our organization, 160,000 people worldwide, is focused on. Locally, our team here has been working with public agencies on their energy costs and on making their operations more efficient from the same office in San Jose for 20 years. And we've been doing this public sector work for even longer than that. So we design, build, and maintain energy projects for schools, cities, and counties across California, including many of the districts that followed your lead as a district. So Hayward, Berryessa, Franklin, McKinley, Mountain View, Westman, many others in the region have followed Eastside's vision to be more sustainable. We're also particularly proud of our record of good local job creation in Santa Clara County in particular. So we can go on to the next slide. actually, but wait, before you go on, sorry, that picture there, I was referring to green job creation. That picture there is from a job training center where we also brought in some East Side teachers to learn about work in the trades. So I just wanted to identify that's some of your staff years ago at a professional development session. So here at East Side particularly, we completed 3 different phases of work. The first 2 were more than a decade ago now and included solar at all the largest sites. And some lighting efficiency as well. From that project alone, the district netted more than 14 million in state incentives, and of course has benefited from reduced energy usage while we maintain those systems all the way up to today. We were also selected as your partner to implement Prop 39 about 5 or 6 years ago, the state funding program for energy efficiency. In that program, we added solar to 2 smaller sites and then upgraded lighting across many additional sites. And then you also have 2 NG batteries that are reducing energy costs at 2 additional sites more recently. That phase was a little bit limited by the state funding that was available at the time, but there are always additional funding opportunities, and particularly now with federal funding, there are additional opportunities as well to fund other energy projects. So we stand ready as your energy partner to complete more work at the district office to make your sites more resilient and have clean energy for backup power, to improve indoor air quality, and lots more electric e-mobility and school bus charging and things like that. There's lots of exciting things happening in energy today. But really my favorite thing about all of the programs we've done with Eastside is the way that we can connect with your students and bring them into careers and energy and sustainability. So this picture is one of your students in our office in San Jose at his internship, actually working with a college intern from a different program that we also had in the same summer. So we've done this through the Building and Construction Trade Councils, but also through direct work with some of your really excellent professional educators on all sorts of different ways about how we can be a good industry partner to those in the classroom over the years. We also maintain and monitor all 3 phases of work. And so I'll talk about that on the next slide more, on slide 5. Yeah. So this table shows the production from each phase of the solar project and the total savings that have already accrued to the district as well. So when the first phase of work was announced, it was expected to save about $42 million over the full project lifetime. So at $35 million already saved, we're making great strides toward that when the panels will last much, much longer as well. So the first few columns on this page just show which phase we're in of the 2 different projects because they're a little bit offset from each other. The amount of energy that was guaranteed, so that's the 8 millions and things like that, followed by the actual energy measured by the systems as they've produced each year, and then we translate that into dollar savings off your PG&E bill. I'll stop here if there are any questions from the board.
So can you explain to me the years? I'm trying to understand because we've been in this for over a decade and I see year 0, 9, and then 0, 1, 2, 3. Does it start over?
Exactly, great question. Yeah, so year 0 is while the systems were being completed before we sort of commenced formal monitoring in the post-construction period. So that's sort of like bonus extra savings that the district got before, the start of production in both cases. And then year 1 on the first column there is the systems operating the first 2 phases of work. The year 0 kind of down in the middle where it says year 6 and then year 0, that's because most of your systems were on year 6 at all the big sites, and the 2 additional sites at Clara and Overfelt Adult were in year 0. So we tried to line up the calendar years so the savings lined up, but it means it's because there are 2 different ages of systems essentially. Does that help?
Kind of. Sorry. What year are we on?
So right now the systems are in year 4 and year 10. So that would be off the bottom of the chart, and we'll come back in a year to report on how those years were.
But you said we've been partnering for more than a decade. So how are we in year 4 and year 10?
Well, so we're in year 10 of the guarantee. It took us a year of developing and building the projects before the clock started on the guaranteed program. So we built them in 2008 and 2010, or excuse me, 2009 and 2010. Yeah.
I'm sorry, I'm still not clear. Can someone elaborate? I'm trying to make sense because for me, this tells us how much we've been saving, but I'm not quite sure how to read it. Like year 1, how much we saved, year 5, year 6, year 7, year 12, year 13. I want to be able to see the saving. I don't see it outlined like that. And I don't think I'm reading it correctly. Sorry.
So the right-hand column is the total savings. So that's probably going to get you what you're looking for in terms of each year, what the district saved from the program, the far right-hand column.
So you're looking from left to right when you're looking at the numbers, Lorena, for each year.
Yeah, but what year are we on now with the partnership?
So we're in year 10, we're currently in year 10, but we're not showing year 10 because the year 10 is not over yet. So you're showing year 9 last year.
Oh, okay. I thought we had a partnership for over 10 years. That makes sense.
Well, the partnership that Emily referred to was when we first engaged them to do all the planning and the design work. And so that took 2 years before the implementation of year 1.
Got it. Okay, thank you. That's helpful.
What was the capital outlay from the district?
Sure. So there was, it was about $25 million for each of the 2 first phases, some of which was funded through bond and some of which was paid for through a loan. And then the 3rd phase that you see here was about $5 million.
So a total about $55 million and change.
Yep.
Trustee Cortese, you have your hand up?
Yeah, thank you. Emily, you mentioned something about school bus charging. Well, say more about that.
Yeah, we're seeing a lot of interest from both utility programs and things like that to support school bus charging, as well as, you know, interest in districts that are trying to, you know, convert their fleets when it makes sense to clean air fleets, even charge them from your solar.
So have we done that in a district? Do we have any electric buses in our district?
No, we don't at this time, but we have been doing some looking into alternative fuels. Yes.
We had a presentation a number of years ago about converting traditional buses to electric. And I don't know if that's cost effective or if school buses are being produced as electric vehicles today. I'd imagine that they are, but I'm just curious.
Yeah, most of our buses, Patty, they're too old for the conversion. And so we need the capital outlay to actually purchase the new electric buses. And usually you do that through grants to help defray those costs. One of the things we'll be bringing to the board next month actually is we do have a grant to actually install anywhere from 4 to 6 at 4 to 6 schools electric charging stations, multiple charging stations, not only for our employees but for the community to access after hours and on the weekends. So we'll be bringing that to the board next month.
Excellent.
All right, Emily, any more? Oh, I'm sorry. Trustee Doe, you have your hand up?
This question for Chris Chu. Do we ever have an analysis of comparing like a return on investments or an NPV and net present values of our capital outlay to the return on saving that we get, Chris?
On the solar, I don't believe we have. I don't know, but let me turn that question to our consultants here.
Yeah, I don't think we haven't done an analysis against the initial capital outlay. It's been more about general fund savings because that was one of the visions originally, was making sure it was relief to the general fund.
Understood. Thank you.
Yeah.
Well, and one overriding aspect of all of this for the board at the time was to make whatever reasonable investment would move us to solar, to clean energy, you know, and to have the infrastructure in place. And although we wanted to figure out how to finance it, how to make it tenable and workable, and knew that over time we'd be recovering, you know, the investment, but also more importantly for us was to, you know, move to the next generation of clean energy.
All right, Emily.
Emily, I was wondering that look into the energy project saving. Why that on year 3, year 4, year 5, we have more total saving than year 6, 7, 8, 9.
Yeah, that's a great question.
Can you hear me? I was asking that if looking to the charge that you.
Trustee Lay, you're going in and out, but we did hear the question, and so Emily can answer it for you.
Yeah, I think I followed the question. Yeah, and the biggest piece there is when your board predecessors made the decision to do this project, they captured a lot of state incentives that were front loaded to the first 5 years. So that's the next to last right-hand column is the incentives paid by the state. So that means that there were more total savings in the first 5 years because the state was paying you additional incentives. Those ran out after 5 years. That was always part of the plan. That was how the program was structured. So now you're getting only the energy bill savings from PG&E, which is about $2 million off of what your energy bill would have been otherwise.
Awesome. Thank you for clarification.
Those incentives too were part of the impetus for the board to take action, as opposed to, hesitate.
Yeah, they're not available anymore now for solar projects. Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you for your clarification. Any other board member or any other public comments for this item, 13.01? Okay, if I didn't see anyone, so thank you, Emily, and thank you, staff, for this presentation. So now we can understand a bit more of solar. My last question is, what we have a new building right now with all of this new phase construction for our site. Maybe we probably have more solar program to work with the new construction so we can be able to save more saving as well as energy, correct?
That's a great idea. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I really appreciate your time tonight on this, and I appreciate the opportunity to just tell you about the good decision made by your predecessors. So I feel lucky to work in this industry because the link between jobs and climate justice and transforming our infrastructure has really only gotten more urgent since your predecessors made this good decision. So thank you for your leadership and your service on the board.
Thank you, Emily.
One last thing, sorry. At the time, once we had implemented the program, we were the largest high school district in the nation in terms of clean energy output. I wonder how long that lasted and whether we're anywhere near that anymore.
I think there have been larger projects since, but it was definitely the largest project at the time.
At the time, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Sorry,
Thank you, Emily.
I have one more question for Emily. I'm sorry. Emily, based on the work that you've done with the districts and other organizations, what do you think has been the biggest win or opportunity that Eastside has leveraged from this project? Because I hear you say it's more than just the money that we've saved. We're talking about jobs, we're talking about multiple other benefits. And I'm curious to hear from your perspective, what have they been at Eastside?
Yeah, I think as Trustee Herrera mentioned, the incentives and acting when the district did to get the really strong financial benefit was really a key win, I think, because it's not as good now for those decisions, a couple of the economic reasons. But you referred to jobs as well, and we have a commitment in the region to be creating local jobs out of the work we're doing, and these are good construction jobs, and these are jobs of the future as well that are created from projects like this. And I can't remember the number off the top of my head that was created by this project, but projects like this that also followed your lead have created hundreds of jobs in the area with other districts as well.
Awesome, thank you.
All right, thank you, Emily. Thank you, your
you.
company, NG, as well as all staff has been working with us. So, all right, let's move to 14.01. So discussion, consideration, and/or action to approve First Amendment to Associate Superintendent Contract This item, agenda item relate to amendment to Mr. Vanderzee's current contract to address his transition into the role of superintendent over the next few months. I'm asked General Counsel Rogelio Ruz, could you please, have a description of the purpose and key term of the contract, please?
Rogelio, do you want me to open this attachment or do you want to share the screen?
Actually, if you can open the attachment, that would be fine. Thank you. If you can just scroll down just a little bit, probably to page 2. Thank you, Board President. That's fine, Chris. Thank you. This is a first amendment to Glenn Vanderzee's current contract as Associate Superintendent of Human Resources. The purpose of this amendment is to allow for some transition period between before he enters into the full-time position of superintendent under the contract that was approved earlier this evening. This first amendment provides that effective June 1 and for the entire month of June, he will, that will be the transition period for him, and he will transition, his title will change from Associate Superintendent of Human Resources to Acting Superintendent for that entire month. On July 1, he will transition into his new contract. Again, that was approved earlier by the board. And in consideration for him taking on the responsibilities of acting superintendent and assisting in the transition out of human resources, this agreement provides for a one-time stipend of $6,294.42 that will be paid in July. And that stipend is based on the difference between the superintendent's salary at step 1 on the salary schedule and his current salary divided by 12. So this is, it's just to make up that difference. And then again, as noted earlier, his existing contract for Associate Superintendent of Human Resources will terminate on June 30th of this year. And I'm happy to answer any questions if you have any.
I'll move to approve.
Second.
All right. Any other board member comments? If not, then we can ask Mary a roll call, please. Mary, could you do roll call?
Student Governing Board Representative Bruce Wynn, how do you vote?
I approve.
Thank you. Board roll call vote. President Lay,
Aye.
Vice President Herrera,
Aye.
Clerk Chavez,
Aye.
Member Cortese,
Aye.
Member Doe.
Aye.
Thank you.
Madam President, are you still there?
This item passed unanimously, so not move to, like, yes, yes. So we move to calendar. Any
Move for approval of the
item
consent.
that's one member would like to remove? Any second?
Madam President, you're really going in and out. May I suggest that Vice President Herrera take over the remaining of the meeting?
Which
Put
means.
on my iPhone, right? I don't know why my internet.
Okay.
Yes, so go ahead, move on.
We're on consent item, Mr. Herrera.
I'm scrolling through the agenda right now and looking for consent, which is where do we start that?
At 15.1.
15.1, okay. I had just made a motion for adoption of the consent calendar. Is there-
Second.
Okay, moved by Herrera, seconded by Cortese. If there's no discussion, roll call, please.
Student Governing Board Representative Bruce Wynn, how do you vote?
I approve.
Thank you. Board roll call vote, President Lay, we can come back to her. Vice President Herrera,
Aye.
Clerk Chavez,
Aye.
Member Cortese,
Aye.
Member Doe.
Aye.
We've just lost President Lay.
On the Zoom.
On the Zoom. Connection.
Let's be clear.
So we'll come back and complete the vote in a moment. I'm just going to proceed with item 21, written reports and recommendations.
Yeah, I have a request on the written reports.
Okay.
I would like to see the, let's see, I have a note here. Report on the expulsion plan. I would like that to come back as a presentation. You know, and it could include an update on MTSS, you know, generally how the implementation is going and the professional development that we're doing around that. And then the report also mentions re-entry plans that will be developed, and I would love to hear some progress on that. And this does not need to be soon. I'm not in a hurry for this. I know that there's so much going on in terms of getting back to school. So if this is sometime in the next year, I'll be happy.
Okay, that is a worthy subject to bring back for a presentation and discussion. So,
And I'm happy to do that if I may, Trustee Herrera, but we are mandated by Ed Code to have to submit this to the board and have it accepted, but we are happy to return to do a full presentation on the plan as well as the other items that have been indicated.
okay, so when something needs an action, it usually is not under written reports and recommendations, but I'm assuming we can go ahead and take a motion for
Yeah.
acceptance of this.
Thank you, appreciate it.
Move for.
Go ahead, I'll second.
Moved by Trustee Chavez, seconded by Trustee Cortese to accept the report under item 21.02. Roll call, please.
Student Governing Board Representative Bruce Wynn, how do you vote?
I approve.
Thank you. Board roll call vote. President Lay? We're still having a connection issue. Vice President Herrera?
Aye.
Clerk Chavez?
Aye.
Member Cortese?
Aye.
Member Doe?
Aye.
Trustee Lay, are you still with us?
Madam President, maybe you can just put in the chat whether you approve or not.
So I'm just going to take the step, an extraordinary step of revisiting to complete the votes for 2201 and 20, excuse me. Yeah,
2102.
and 2102. Both of them, but let's continue. Opportunity for future agenda items. Oh, is that where we're at here?
I received a text from Madam President and she's a yes.
Okay, is she a yes on both votes that she missed? Clarify that.
Yeah, on both. Yes, I received a text from her that it's a yes on both.
Okay. Very good. Are we at 2201? I got a little confused here. Opportunity to request future agenda.
Yes, we are, sir.
Okay, so any requests from the board?
Yes, I would like to get an update on summer school because, you know, summer school is going to be different this year. So I would love to get a brief update on what's happening with summer school this year. And I'd also like an update on adult ed. I realized recently that I haven't heard anything about adult ed throughout the whole pandemic. And hopefully that means good, no news is good news. And if that's the case, then maybe we just do an update on adult ed later. But at some point, yeah, I think just hearing how things are going with adult ed would be good.
Yeah, I think the next board meeting is a light agenda, so we will definitely bring summer school to the next one, even though I've met with each of you for the agenda already. We'll just add that for the 29th. And then for adult ed, we will figure out whether probably the second board meeting in May and bring a report back with the Director Williams there.
Thank you.
Very good. I had the same thought, Member Cortese, in my meeting with Superintendent Funk. It's time to hear from adult ed. So 22.02 is simply reviewing the status of items. Is there any comment on that? And if not, we're going to move straight to 23. We just skipped right past the 22.03, which is the annual governance calendar. And we're now at item 23.01. Let's begin with board comments, and I'll just call on Member Cortese to start with.
I'm just excited about, this kind of evening brings mixed emotions, because so grateful for Superintendent Funk's 9-year contribution to our effort and his vision and, incredidible contributions. And at the same time, very excited about, working with Glenn. I've enjoyed working with Glenn for such a long time already. So just a bittersweet evening, I guess.
Yes, Member Doe.
Thank you, Vice President Herrera. I want to echo the same message as my colleague, Trustee Cortese, has said earlier. This is a bittersweet moment for us. I want to thank Superintendent Funk for his 9 years of service and congratulate our new superintendent, Glenn Vanderzee. And I look forward to working with this board to support our new superintendent so that we can help our students. Thank you.
Thank you. Member Chavez.
Y'all hear me?
Yes.
Okay, great. Well, I want to first and foremost welcome our students and our staff back officially. It's exciting to hear that we're all coming back, figuring it all out, building it so that they come, our beautiful babies. So wanted to shout you out and celebrate everyone that has had an impact and has done work behind the scenes, and too many people to name. I mentioned this a little bit, but this past week, when was it? Was it yesterday? Tuesday? What day? Okay, 2 days ago. I was on a CSBA panel with one other board member and a few legislators on broadband access. There's a few bills on the floor right now, AB 14, SB 4, AB 34. And we had an opportunity to engage about things that we're doing. And I felt so much pride to be able to share the work that eSite is doing with eSite Access and the progress that we've made this year. And it's a great reminder of Chris's leadership and Randy's as well, and really setting the tone, having a clear vision for something like an innovative project that really, shouldn't be considered innovative in some ways, because what Chris did was name a gap that existed before it was extremely exacerbated by the pandemic, which I think really set us up as a district to be able to handle this beast of a pandemic a lot better than others have. And so just want to shout out, Chris again for that and his vision, and Randy, of course, as well. And I also want to share my, I don't know if pride or gratitude are the right words here, but this year has been so hard at so many levels. We had the pandemic. We've been struggling and really coming at face with this reckoning as a country and the systemic racism And we've had like ebbs and flows. I think one of the most recent ones was our anti-Asian hate, and how we continue to talk about it as the board. We put out a resolution last year. We had a few moments of silence, and it's just that acknowledgement unapologetically of this is our community, this matters. And recently, the verdict of George Floyd, which I personally, I'll speak for myself, I don't think it's justice. I think it's the beginning phases of accountability, and just feeling grateful that, you know, Mr. Funk put out a statement there as a district where we stand. And one of the phrases that caught my eye and really resonated with me was, "We stand for love." And I think that really summarizes it. And so just want to say thank you, and feeling really proud and our stances as a district in this moment in time.
Thank you. And I want to ask our student board representative for his comment.
Yeah, I would like to pretty much reiterate what the previous board members have said about, you know, there is a lot of work that needs to be done, and there is a lot of work that the district can do to support students. I myself, you know, have spent the past months using my position to advocate for students, student rights, and all the amenities students should deserve at their time here at Eastside Union High School District. And, you know, today I'm actually really honored to have participated in getting the Seal of Civic Engagement passed. And I know that many students would benefit from this. And I know that the future of SGB is also really bright. And thank you to the students that came out to speak in support of this as well. It speaks a lot, you know, when a lot of students come out in support of something, and I want to make sure they do have the opportunity to do that at all times of the year. And also in remarks about the incidents that I have been referring to, I do want to make sure there is a solution at the end of this. So I will be looking into it with the diversity task force, which their end goal would be to make sure that the student governments at each school site are diversified, are representing the students, the multicultural populations of every school campus here in the district. And I want to make sure that, you know, the goals of SGB and Diversity Task Force and many other organizations are fulfilled as well. So with that said, it's been a really productive night. I've had a really long week as well, and seeing all these different developments come together really make my day. And although I still have a lot of things ahead of me, such as like graduating, you know, going elsewhere, you know, it's a journey for me as much for everyone.
Very good. Thank you. And comments from our superintendent, Chris Funk.
Well, first of all, thank you all for your very appreciative comments that everyone made this evening. It was interesting. I was in an interview today, and one of the questions was to describe your leadership style. And my answer was, first and foremost, you have to hire great people around you. And that I've been fortunate, whether I was principal at Lincoln or in HR or assistant soup, to really have great people around me. And then you just have to set clear expectations, provide space for them to do their work, provide the scaffolding support that they may need, and then hold people accountable. And that's what I attempt to do as a leader. And at this right now is probably the best time under my leadership that we have exceptional people throughout the district in their spots. So I'm very excited about the future for Eastside. The fact that 2 internal candidates were finalists, 2 that I worked really well with to help groom and promote and give them opportunities to shine. And the fact that the district hired one of them just means that the district just reaffirms that we've done good work together, that we're in position to continue to take the district in the right direction. And just as a reminder that in my next stop, I'll be looking for great people to work with me. So I may not be gone for long. No, I'm just kidding. But thank you all. And Glenn, congratulations, well deserved. Looking forward to supporting you through this transition and beyond.
Thank you, Mr. Superintendent. And as we've mentioned before, we'll have more of an opportunity to acknowledge and recognize you at our second May meeting. So thank you. Board evaluation, comments from the board? How did we do today?
I'm sorry, can I just chime in that Board Member Lay texted that she wants to echo her thank you to Chris, and again, apologize for her internet. That's it.
Thank you very much. Comments on board evaluation of our meeting? Silence is approval.
It's not yet 9. This is good.
All right. This meeting has flowed well. There have been some good topics, and it's a notable and memorable meeting as part of our transition. So I'm glad how we are working together, and I appreciate the work that Board President Von Lay continues to do in leading our meetings. So moving on to report from closed session.
Closed session item 2.04, the board unanimously approved the employment of Victoriano Frausto as child nutrition supervisor. Closed session items 2.05 and 2.07, the board unanimously approved a general release and settlement agreement with a certificated employee, pursuant to which the employee has tendered their resignation from the district effective June 30th of this year. And the agreement also includes mutual releases of claims. There are no further actions to report.
Very good. Our second April meeting is next week, a week from today on April 29. And there being no further business, the meeting for tonight is hereby adjourned.